picked up 3 50-gallon drums. And as it turns out, that seems to be about just as many as you can fit in the Chevy HHR. So that works. Alrighty, welcome back to another exciting day with Ballistics Designs. So as promised, the next step on this voyage is going to be to put a turret on the roof. So what I decided to start with was one of these 50-gallon drums. As it turns out, I can get these very easily, so they make for really good resources for this build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cutting it about 5 inches down, because I don't want it to be too high, but I want it to be high enough to line up with the rest of the roof rack. That way if I throw something up there, I kind of more or less have a flat plane to work with. So I'll go ahead and draw a circle around here, 5 inches, get that cut, and then I'll have to build the hinge system, so this will be able to hinge out and lock, because obviously I don't want someone having access to the vehicle and just being able to open that up. So we'll go ahead and get that started and see where I end up. So you may be wondering, what is the best way to cut one of these barrels? It's with a zombie knife, because you can just, and they come right off.
Zombie Hunter 5000.
Just playing around. Actually, the best way that I found to cut these barrels was to put them on a Mugen dolly and then holding your grinder kind of straight parallel with the cut and then slowly rotating the barrel with the dolly. These slow motion shots help it look really, really cool. Alrighty, so the next step here is going to be to see where everything lines up. So that's going to be about as tall as the turret is. What I'm going to do is leave the roof area where it's at, and there's some little spines back here that kind of give the roof stability. So rather than cutting the shape into this, I'm going to cut the shape into that rib, and I think I'm just going to weld this directly to the surface of this. So it's going to be a very long and tedious process to get that on there, but I think that would be the most ideal way to get it mounted on there. Alrighty, so for the next few steps here, what I'm going to have to do is measure where the middle of this is going to be. It should be easy enough to just go between these two lines will be my center point. So once I got that lined up where I want it, I'm going to draw a circle around the inside diameter, so that way I have all the meat on the outside. So once I get a circle of where the exact outside is, I'm going to come in about a 1/4 inch, so that way I have a nice little lip to rest on. And to do that, I'm just going to drag the Sharpie all the way around. Now I have a circle on my roof, and looking inside, I got this light out, making sure there's no wires underneath there. And I got adequate space between the interior and the exterior. So now that I've cut a giant hole in the roof of the car and compromised the waterproofness of it, it's time to get this put on there. So it's going to sit on perfectly like that around that outer circle. Ha! Yeah, and it's got just enough of a rim in there. So I'll probably go ahead and put just some edge seal or find a way to soften that up a bit in there. But yeah, that's where it'll sit, just right there. So now that the cleanup is done, I'm going to go ahead and start throwing some tacks all the way around the circumference of this. I decided to go with the welding it. I can add on decorative pieces later, and I definitely want to add some port windows around the whole thing. So I'll go ahead and get this in place first, and then I can start adding things where they fit, as well as I'm going to add some bracing to where the roof rack comes in. So let's get burning.
Why y'all clapping?
Alrighty. So in theory, this was the easy part because now I have to finish up putting the windows in it, putting a hinge on this, putting a latch on this, and then you really, see if I'm gonna hit my head up there, you can just come right out of the top of this thing. Now for the last little bit here, after I cleaned it off, I'm just gonna go ahead and run some silicone sealant all the way around it. All right, so now the silicone is done. So go ahead and let that dry for just a little bit before I paint it. And then I'll have that nice opening in there, straight into the cab. And I want to add some bars right across here, not only to stabilize this, but to stabilize that. And that is not the rattling of the roof, it's the lid. Here's a little 3D printed grip that I just made. It's carbon fiber and PETG, so that should latch really well and be strong enough to work for pulling down the hatch. So here's what the hinge I decided to use looks like on there. So it's connected from the top with a spacer that I 3D printed. Then I got the hinge grip on the other side. So then once the other part's done printing, it'll sit in between here and then bolt on there, so that way it can come up and out. So this is subject to change, but this is the latch that I found that'll just open up like that and latch onto the grip that I made right there. And I'll have that all bolted in, and I'll be able to test its hinging capabilities, which hopefully work. Easy as pie. Now I got a little latch right there that I can just secure it with. And this isn't an anti-theft latch by any means, but it'll definitely keep the wind from just pulling it open. And I can work on something for extra security later. Turns out I need a new hole saw set, so I'm going to revert to using my plunge cut. That way I can make rectangles instead of circles, which I originally wanted to do anyway, but the circles seemed in theory to be easier. So, gonna get to cutting it. Okay, so the next step, I got these little pieces of polycarbonate, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put them inside, like that. I'll drill out some pre-drilled holes, and then I will silicone the whole thing, and then I will rivet it in place. And I think that should look really cool, and the rivets will add just kind of that extra little bit of industrial touch to it. So that's what's next. Well, there we go. Now it's got those porthole windows on the top. There now. Get a little bit of light through there. Hatch is done. Got it on there. Used one little piece as a hook strap right there, so that's bolted all the way through. And then we got the inside. Everything's bolted in. My latch. And I get a little bit of light from up there, which is great. So the last thing I'll have to do is just holster this, and it'll be done for now. What a lovely day! Well, here's the turret, and I appreciate you watching the video. I can't wait to add some more to this. So anyway, thank you for watching, and like and subscribe to the channel. See you again next time.